10 News is sponsored by Premier Family of Dealerships. 10 News on WBIR starts now.
Coming up, we are celebrating love in East Tennessee.
It's a Natalie effort, and I'm just here for the ride.
Today, you'll meet couples who have faced adversity, built dreams together, and found love once again.
There's a love there that can't be broken.
From a couple who created new memories after old memories were lost.
We sort of take it that it's God's way of just bringing us closer together.
To a widow who keeps her husband's legacy alive.
Make it bigger and better and just for him.
They are unions that are truly straight from the heart.
Give me a kiss.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this WBIR Plus special highlighting some of East Tennessee's best love stories. I'm Brittany Bailey.
And I'm Robin Wilhoit. Valentine's, of course, is the time of year when we celebrate love. However, most of us celebrate it year-round, whether it's with our significant other, our families, our friends, or even our pets.
And we're excited to bring you some of the best love stories we've shared with you over the years. We begin with a couple whose love for the Tennessee Vols is one to admire.
Now, if the Tennessee Volunteers are playing, Judy and Earl Brown are watching, and most likely in person. Katie Inman introduces us to these longtime fans who prove that Big Orange can lead to big love.
For Earl and Judy Brown, stepping inside this 100-year-old stadium
I've got to have my checkerboard socks and my orange shoes on.
feels like home.
Nothing's like Neyland. You just get a warm and fuzzy feeling when you walk in.
They've had season tickets since 1972.
So even though we've been going to games for a long time, we were not here for the first game. Can't take credit for that.
While their seats have changed over the years,
We started in PP, row 26. Then we moved in the north end zone to ZZ12.
the vantage point they've had for a decade takes the cake.
So we moved down to section T. But I kind of feel like Judy and Earl Brown should sit in section T for Tennessee.
Right on the main level walkway.
Well, I mean, they could be on the 50-yard line and they're only on the 45-yard line. But I mean, that's still pretty good.
Married to the game, the pair is a fixture in Neyland Stadium, famous for their spirit.
In a way, it's kind of funny, but in another way, I mean, it makes you feel good that people recognize you as being the big Vols fan.
They're anything but fair weather fans,
Coach Fulmer,
with the keepsakes to prove it.
and then you might recognize that signature as Peyton Manning.
Even their house is filled to the brim with Big Orange memorabilia. Bleeding Orange runs deep in the family tree.
Johnny Majors with our son and daughter down on the field at Neyland Stadium. And our son is now 48, and our daughter 43.
In the time they've spent cheering on the Vols, they've felt the ups and downs.
From 95 to 2005, when we beat Alabama 9 years out of 10, that was a great decade.
And they never leave before the game is done, including the 1998 Arkansas game.
Judy and I didn't miss it because we were right here in our seats to see every second of it. So, I mean, come early and stay till the game's over with. That's our policy.
Even in the pandemic, Earl didn't miss a game.
Judy's doctor told her not to go, that she should not go because of the COVID virus, and so she didn't. My doctor told me the same thing. He said, you know good and well, you have no business going. And then he followed it up with saying, but I know you're going to go. And so I did try to be as careful as I could.
Judy is excited to be back in Section T.
Because I didn't go to any games last year, and I'm ready.
Even in an empty stadium, whispers of the past still ring in their ears.
But nothing is like Neyland Stadium.
Well, to Oak Ridge now, where a married couple has graced the football stands as fans for more than 7 decades.
Katie Inman has more on that love story that grew on the gridiron.
Blankenship Field may not have 4 walls and a roof, but for this married couple,
this has always been home.
Betty and Larry Richardson formed their love of Oak Ridge football in the 40s.
It was a place to come, especially growing up.
While the Secret City was keeping score in war, the game on the gridiron couldn't give away too much either.
They were not allowed to use the players' last names. So if there was something in the paper, it was just their first name because it was so secret. So you had to come in a gate and go through guards, and they would check your car, your purse, your everything.
It stayed that way until 1949, when Oak Ridge opened the gates.
Oak Ridge was Camelot for a lot of us because we all came in here from different parts of the country, and we all had to learn to get along with each other.
The constant support of the Wildcats has never been a question for them.
They built the stands over there, the concrete stands, in 1963. We have had our seats 60 years. This is the 60th year of them.
Over time, these faithful fans, married 59 years, have watched the team win state championships and navigate who to play.
During the 50s, people would not play Oak Ridge.
Because we were so good.
Including Clinton, who got a bad taste after a 1957 game.
We beat them pretty bad that year, and then we did not play again until 1970 when TSSAA started the classification system.
Now,
it's always a rough and tumble game. Well, there's a lot of yakking going on, to say the least.
From 8 to 84 years old, these Oak Ridge natives are never giving up with the family formed on the field.
Because we've always gone to the games, we've always supported the Wildcats, and this is just a good place to be from, and we just love it.
For one Knoxville couple, the game of love played out at a baseball stadium. She caught his eye.
So he made a pitch for a first date at the old Smoky Stadium in Kodak. Turns out he hit a home run.
Thanks for helping us out here.
Fans who attend a Tennessee Smokies game expect excitement during each of the innings, but that excitement can spill out into the stands when fans turn a typical game into a once-in-a-lifetime event.
We've had so many things. We've had first dates happen with couples that are now married. We've had engagements happen right here.
Lindsay Archer has the enviable job of helping the fans make lifelong wishes come true.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's kind of hard to put to words the fact that these couples hold this stadium, this team, this work so near and dear to their heart.
During the 20-plus years in Kodak, the stadium has been the backdrop for everything from first dates to gender reveals, even wedding receptions.
I grew up loving baseball. That was my first love.
For lifelong baseball fan Benny Smith, a Smokies game back in 2013 was a great place to take Megan Venable on a first date.
And I'm like, okay, I got to take her somewhere where I know what's going on, you know, where I can really impress her.
There was only one problem. Megan wasn't really into baseball.
I think I hadn't been to a baseball game since college, and I didn't realize that he put that much thought into our first day. I did not know that baseball stats were his love language.
Megan quickly changed her mind, and by the end of the date, the Smokies had won the game, and Benny had won Megan's heart.
Won it, and that's what the quote was, well, that deserves a kiss. And we had our first kiss on the berm there at Smoky Stadium.
They've been together ever since, and Megan is now a true baseball fan.
To really be able to kick off our relationship and our future there makes it even more special and makes a game that I love so much, you know, even love it even more.
The couple is looking forward to the Smokies' new home in Knoxville, but the stadium in Kodak will always be their field of dreams.
And I look forward to seeing and cheering on a lot of their games and doing that with my wife in tow.
I got one more thing. Sure. Give me a kiss.
What do you want? I want.
Well, the two say they can't wait to see that first pitch at the new home for the now Knoxville Smokies come this April.
Well, check this out. Did you know that we can thank a star-crossed young couple for one East Tennessee's most historic towns? We are talking about Rogersville, one of the state's oldest towns, settled by Joseph Rogers. Rogers was a Scots-Irishman who was traveling through the area, which was then part of North Carolina.
Joseph Rogers fell in love with a local girl named Mary Amy, who was the daughter of a wealthy farmer and Revolutionary War hero. Beth Haynes has more on how the roots run through Rogersville in a story we did back in 2013.
It's one of the oldest and most charming towns in East Tennessee. But what many may not know is that Rogersville began with a love story.
I am Joseph and Mary Rogers' fourth great-grandson. That's great-great-great-great-grandson.
To understand the story of the star-crossed lovers, we paid a visit to where it all began.
The house we're sitting in is the Thomas Amey House. It was built in 1781 by Thomas Amey, who was a North Carolina legislature member and also a captain in the North Carolina 3rd Regiment Continental Army. As part of his patriotism and his loyalty towards the cause, the federal government allotted him 1,000 acres, and he moved here and started building this property in 1781.
While Amey was building a life for his family, an Irish immigrant named Joseph Rogers was settling into a new life in America.
Joseph Rogers made his way down to this region, which would have been frontier land, and he was looking for work and found this property and became a clerk in one of the stores here on the Amey property.
Joseph Rogers also found love with Amy's daughter, Mary.
Story goes they fell in love, and at one point Thomas was called away. He comes back to the property and finds that his daughter had eloped against his consent with this clerk of his, Joseph Rogers. But there was some bad blood. But within a few years, they must have mended their fences because Thomas helped Joseph and Mary acquire 200 acres in what is today Rogersville.
To make ends meet, Joseph and Mary operated a tavern on a site once owned by Davy Crockett's grandparents.
The cabin in downtown Rogersville was burned to the ground by a Cherokee native attack, killing the entire Crockett families. In 1784-ish, 82 to 84, Joseph and Mary would have acquired that property and built their tavern, and that's how it all started in downtown Rogersville.
The couple ran the tavern until their deaths in 1833.
They were so close that actually they ended up dying within 3 weeks of each other.
But that was only the beginning of the story. Joseph and Mary raised 14 children. Many of their descendants still live in the area and continue to share their love story.
I live right outside of Rogersville in a little area that actually Joseph Rogers had purchased some of the property that's near that we still own in our family. So it's always been a big family thing. We've always been proud of that whole Rogers lineage.
It makes me very proud. It makes me think that true love does exist, and we are all a result of that union, which has gone on for generations and generations.
Of course, we've always enjoyed the love story and felt so special to have had that passed down in our family.
As the descendants continue to grow, they're happy to be able to gather at the site where the star-crossed lovers first met. It's now owned by one of the Amey's descendants.
The first time that we came, we actually spent the night in the Hale Springs Inn. And we actually spent the night in the Mary and Joseph Rogers room. In a certain respect, I felt like I was coming home.
Today, Wendy loves to tell stories of the magical places their romance developed.
The two of them would meet at Ebbing and Flowing, and evidently they are the first ones that discovered the power of love at Ebbing and Flowing Spring because they fell in love there. There's a tree where Joseph and Mary would stop and have a picnic or simply express their love for one another, and actually the tree is still there.
Also still there are reminders of a young couple whose love story continues to be shared by the family they created.
It's fitting that they were married they went against all odds and got married and did what they thought was right, and here it is, 200 plus years later, their fifth great-grandchildren all getting together to tell their stories.
Well, a Knoxville couple is giving new life to family heirlooms. Their vintage store mixes ingenuity and sustainability to honor their past for the future.
Reporter Ellis Rold has the story of the Back Pocket.
A nostalgic hum on an old city street, coming from a machine almost twice its user's age.
Beautiful.
Javier Killefer may be the youngest seamster in Knoxville.
I feel like it puts me in touch with an older generation.
Giving family heirlooms new life.
This is usually how I start. I get like full-size quilts, and I've been really enjoying making these hoodies.
He can make your grandmother's quilts feel young again. And alongside him, Natalie, who finds grandma's favorites across town.
Natalie sources vintage clothing at thrift stores, estate sales, wherever she can find it locally. And then she finds me blankets and quilts, and then I take them.
Effort, for sure.
it's a Natalie effort, and I'm just here for the ride.
She fills their Old City vintage store with enduring gems. Her passion, making the old feel new and sustainable.
The way we spend, we're buying things out of just convenience rather than something that is quality and also can be affordable.
The two making something to love from a lost art.
When I see people either bring in an heirloom quilt or a piece that their family has had for years and their grandmother's made, and then hobby turns it into a piece, these families light up. It's really special.
And their own family memories linger through the shop.
My brother and I would like have bowls of cereal at either end of at this table, and there's like these little dowels, and we would have like little wizard fights.
And for youngsters who want to try an old trade, check your closet for quilts.
Well, coming up, we are remembering an East Tennessee icon.
Popcorn Sutton's history in moonshining is the stuff of legend, but it's his wife who's taking her late husband's legacy into a new generation thanks to a love that's as strong as that white lightning.
And welcome back to our celebration of East Tennessee love stories. This next love story takes us to the farm by way of Hollywood.
Yeah, we met Mitchell, an East Tennessee native, as he prepared to find love on reality television. We watched his journey on Farmer Wants a Wife as he lassoed his favorite cowgirl. Here's producer Danielle Riley.
It's been a hard story for myself trying to find this love, but I really think I found the true one.
The East Tennessee cowboy that stole our hearts is giving his away, and the girl getting it doesn't plan to go far.
I've been with him pretty much all the time since filming ended.
Sydney and Mitchell are starting their new combined lives on the farm.
And we're definitely taking our time, but I so enjoy her company and having her on the farm, and hopefully it'll lead, to the right love story and a wedding.
The couple isn't engaged yet. Instead, they plan to enjoy their exclusive relationship.
We like to spend most of our evenings just watching sunsets here on the farm. We don't really go out much or anything.
The couple can now go public, a treat the duo enjoys after months of keeping their relationship secret.
But occasionally we will go to a Chick-fil-A drive-thru and whatnot, and I'm like, lean the seat back,
Yeah, I was like, can I get it? He was like, no, you can't get it. I was like, oh.
And now?
I want him to take me out on a date in public.
I mentioned that.
Yeah. I want to get all cute and stuff.
I got a good one.
Well, they are adorable, that's for sure.
Yes, they are. Well, a Knox County couple's love story is holding strong through sickness and in health.
The two are facing down a deadly diagnosis with compassion, hope, and humor. Meet the Pattersons.
This is the love story.
We will be married 40 years this August.
Of Ned and Beth Patterson. And like any great love story, this one has been filled with great joy.
Our life together has been incredible.
And also unimaginable pain.
Our world, through my diagnosis, has kind of imploded here.
Let's rewind this love story just a bit to the summer of 2017, when a common chore became more than just a chore.
I noticed it was getting harder to mow the lawn.
One day I saw him sway, and he's a strong guy. And I thought, something's really wrong.
At this point, my lovely bride said, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Beth Patterson got on the phone with the Mayo Clinic and made the plea of her life for the love of her life.
Told them that Ned had an appointment in March. I said, but with these values and with his symptoms, I don't think he'll live that long. And I meant it.
So in late December 2017, the Pattersons packed up and drove to Minnesota to spend a week at the Mayo Clinic. And then they waited for that next chapter. It came in the form of a letter on December 12th.
It said, Mr. Patterson, we're sorry to tell you, you have ALS. And life expectancy at this point is 18 to 24 months.
I lost it.
Beth says she spent months in full fear mode, consumed with the shock of the news.
It has been agonizing at times. I've been full of admiration at times because he has been so strong.
I could either live in a bitterness, lamenting the fact that I have this disease and it's taking these things away from me, or I can live in love and live in today and consider today a blessing.
And today was never supposed to come for Ned. In that letter from the Mayo Clinic, he was given only 18 to 24 months to live. It's now been more than 5 years.
My life is way different than it was 5 years ago. I can look very fondly and look with a challenge in my eyes. What the heck does Mayo know?
What Mayo didn't know, what no one knew, was exactly how challenging life would become and when. ALS is a progressive disease which steals the ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. But through it all, the mind often stays crystal clear.
The reality that my body may quit before my mind is ready to go, it's a scary thought. But if you live there, you're going to get paralyzed and not be able to function and fully live life.
Got me a cool little seat.
So what Ned is doing every single day is living life fully with gratitude and hope.
Do my little Miss America up the stairs here.
He says he's one of the lucky ones who can still talk years into the disease, still work, and still be present for his wife, daughters, and granddaughters.
Pictures of the girls.
Who are never far from view.
Attitude's a choice. And you can either choose despondency or choose happy or choose love.
And this couple chooses love daily, determined to live each day fully until this chapter is fully written.
Ned has said to me almost daily as well, let God's light shine through you and his love and our love.
And we've got to live today as if it's my last and rejoice in that.
Well, I just love the two of them. I actually got to see them last fall. They were at the ALS walk and, you know, doing great and still have that amazingly positive attitude that you saw there.
What an inspiration for all of us.
Absolutely.
Sure. Thank you for that beautiful story. Well, love can find anyone in this life, no doubt about that.
Yeah, surely the case when it comes to that notorious rascal, Popcorn Sutton. The famed moonshiner led a life that most of us can only imagine. Popcorn's been gone nearly 16 years now, but his memory is still alive thanks to his widow, Pam.
Like I said, everything's popcorn. Somebody said I was the queen. I said, no. I'm not the queen, I'm the first lady.
Pam Sutton is the first lady of moonshine. Of course, that means the president is Popcorn Sutton.
I did not like moonshine at all. It was just nasty until I tried his, and it was like drinking water.
Moonshine has flowed like water here in this neck of the woods for generations now, and the man behind the still was Popcorn Sutton.
It's just in my blood.
Popcorn was a legend in Cocke County and beyond, making his moonshine, mostly dodging the law, and brewing up quite a legacy.
Moonshining is our history, regardless of what people want to say about it. It is part of our history, and it was an Appalachian, it's an art. It's an art, and he was good at it.
Rather than go to prison, Popcorn took his own life back in 2009, right here at his Parrottsville home. And his home is also now his final resting place, where he is never far from his widow's constant adoration and occasional frustration.
Believe me, he's had a few cussings over all this mess, because he's close enough I can stand on my front porch and tell him what I think of him. So, yes, I still get angry.
But that anger also fuels her passion to keep Popcorn's liquor legacy alive. So she teamed up with Old Smoky Moonshine.
It's like a dream come true. It'd be like Dollywood merging with Disney.
Old Smoky is using Popcorn Sutton's original moonshine recipe for a special line that launched at the end of last year. The distillery is selling bourbon whiskey and liquor, spelled L-I-K-K-E-R, of course.
Popcorn's moonshine is the champagne of moonshine, and that's why I wanted it in champagne bottles, and now they're calling it Shinepain.
These days, it is perfectly legal to brew hooch, firewater, white lightning, or whatever you want to call it, with the proper licensing and oversight.
But that doesn't mean the modern moonshiners don't have the ultimate respect for the past pioneers.
And people that made moonshine, while there's a lot that wasn't proud of it, they survived. They provided. It built homes. It paid for education. It paid for funerals. It paid for sickness. Without that, I don't know what kind of world we would have lived in.
I'm going to try to make it bigger and better, and just for him. Because a lot of people, you know, there's people out there that says I'm in it for the money, but I could care less. I just want his memory to stay alive.
And that moonshine memory still has its roots right where it all began, with Old Smoky cooking up many of its concoctions in Cocke County.
Corn Tut with moonshine's going to be made in the mountains. It's probably the most secure, recession-proof product that you could be in, is working in moonshine.
Well, a Sevier County couple found love in, of all places, a restaurant.
Reporter Lauren Davis has more on the romance that developed right on the Parkway.
Barbara and Lester Huntley have been married since 2018. But Barbara says their love story didn't start out with a lot of love. She says she first met Lester while eating at Golden Corral with her late husband.
My husband was a retired Army military, and Lester was retired Army military. And it was funny, the guys started to talk when we saw each other, and I did not like to stop and talk to Lester because he only had one tooth in the front.
Barbara says after her husband passed away, the people at Golden Corral became her family. She says on what would have been his 75th birthday, she invited people who helped her grieve to the restaurant.
Friends, family, neighbors, and so I considered Lester his friend, and I had written invitations.
She says after the birthday celebration, they began to hang out more. She says for Halloween, they dressed up as a bride and groom, and by Thanksgiving of that year, they were engaged. She says they got married on August 18th, 2018, at the place where their love story started.
That's when we got married. True. In the Golden Corral, because that was our family there, and they supplied everything.
Both Lester and Barbara say they were not looking for love again after their first marriages. Lester says communication between couples is important and love is needed to also make things work.
We do things together, enjoy things together, and sometimes we have arguments just like everybody that's married. But behind it all, there's a love there that can't be broken.
The couple now lives in the Brookdale Senior Living community, not far from where they first met. In Sevierville, I'm Lauren Davis.
When we come back, miles separated one woman from her late husband. But thanks to her good friend, they're back together for eternity.
Welcome back to our look at some lasting love stories here in East Tennessee. This next one tells the story of a woman's love for her husband and her friend who helped them to reunite.
It centers around a Jefferson County woman who had a final wish to be buried next to her husband of more than 40 years. Well, she died in a Knoxville hospital hundreds of miles from where he's buried.
But thanks to a good friend, she is now buried beside her true love. Here's anchor Shay Smith.
Have you ever thought about what your last wish on earth would be? 89-year-old Sally Adams Palmer knew hers.
She deserved the world, and the world wasn't always so nice to her, so at the very end, I just want to give her what she wanted, and that was to be back home in Joplin. That's what she calls home.
Sally and her husband Bill lived in Joplin, Missouri, and were married for 43 years before he passed away from cancer in 2006.
That was her soulmate, and she would tell you every day.
On May 22nd, 2011, a second tragedy hit. An EF5 tornado hit Joplin, including Sally's home.
When crews found her, she was sitting in a rocking chair on what was her porch, and everything behind her just gone.
WBIR spoke to her 3 years after the tornadoes.
My home was gone, my car was gone, I had no family there, and you could not find a place to live there.
Sally moved to Tennessee.
Who would ever believe that 5 years ago I'd be sitting here
in Tennessee.
At 75 years old, Sally started another chapter of her life here in the Volunteer State. That chapter included working at the McDonald's in Kodak, where Holly and Sally met. She worked there for several years, right up until 2 weeks before her death at a Knoxville hospital more than 600 miles away from the love of her life, Bill. She had already bought the plot and her headstone by Bill, but getting Sally there now is not cheap.
I made her a promise from the beginning.
Holly hopes to raise enough money to fulfill Sally's last wish. Her body is at Ashley's funeral home in Sevierville. Once Holly raises enough money, the funeral home will fly Sally's body to Joplin, where she will rest beside her husband, and her final wish will be granted.
It's important to me because I know if we were switched, she would do it for me. Even though she is gone from this earth, she's still here.
We went back to the archives to find our final story today, way back, all the way back to 1998, and a story of a husband and wife who found each other again.
And after she lost all of her memory that she had all at once, here's reporter Renee Jameson.
Ronald, on this, our anniversary day, we will celebrate, rejoice, and not forget to pray.
They were married 30 years ago, February 8th, at the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church. It would be the beginning of a wonderful partnership for Ronald and Phyllis Cupp, one that would bring 2 sons, grandchildren, and a lifetime of memories. But on December 10th, 1996, the world Phyllis once knew was lost.
I don't remember us having been married. I don't remember my children, raising my children.
She was diagnosed with encephalitis, an inflammation of the brain, a condition that could have taken her life. She survived, but the memories of more than 50 years were gone, except for one, the day she was baptized as a little girl.
And I remembered saying, Mom, I need to be saved. And she said, Dad's up there on the first row. Just go up there. So I went up there with him, and he asked why I was crying, and I said, Dad, I need to be saved.
Her religious beliefs remain strong, as does the devotion of her husband. He took months off from work to care for her and to teach her everything she had forgotten.
But as far as it affecting our lives, I can't say it's been a bad thing. It's not something you would wish on anybody, I guess. But we sort of take it that it's God's way of just bringing us closer together.
And I hope we walk the last mile together.
And now they're making new memories. Today it's a wedding, a renewal of their vows.
I'm just so excited. I can't remember us having been married, and so it's just the most precious day that I guess a woman could ever imagine.
December the 23rd, she celebrated her first birthday, at least the first birthday she can remember. December the 25th was her first Christmas. And now, February the 8th, she's getting married.
In the same church they married in so long ago, with the same minister at the altar, Phyllis, her 2 sons at her side, walks down the aisle a second time.
Dearly beloved, we're gathered here in the sight of God.
In front of dozens of family members and friends, the Cupps embark on a new beginning.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
For richer, for poorer.
For richer or poorer.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
Giving thanks for each other.
Happy anniversary, my loved one, and you will always be, for God gave me a treasure in you, and the whole world will see. Happy anniversary, darling. I love you.
Ronald, would you kiss the bride, please?
We did talk with the Cupps. They are still together and still celebrating their life with their family.
And that is our time for our special look at love in East Tennessee. We wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day, straight from our hearts. Thanks for watching.